and we're going to ask her some questions. So I'm turning it over to Miranda. Hi, welcome, Miranda.
Thanks so much.
So if you want to introduce yourself and tell us about who you are.
Sure. My name is Miranda Gottlieb. I'm a junior studying at the University of Tennessee. I'm majoring in Hispanic Studies as well as political science. And I went on the spring 2014 Argentina Public Health and Urban Environments trip, and it was awesome.
Excellent. Wow. So tell us about why you chose SIT.
Sure. Well, I had studied abroad once before. I went to Costa Rica, and it was for a summer, and I didn't really have the experience that I wanted. And I wanted something that I could do some research. I wanted something more rigorous, more culturally immersive, and an opportunity for me to really get to know people from a country rather than just the people in my group. And so when I found SIT, it just seemed like it fit all of the categories. I really, wanted the rigorous coursework, and it certainly was that.
Excellent. And what key skills did you gain in your program?
Definitely, there's very many. I would say the interpersonal communication was unbelievably helpful during the ISP, the Independent Study Project, and I interviewed, I think, 8 or 9 different individuals in the theme that I was writing upon. And interviewing people in your second language is tough. But I really just got to work with people from all different levels in the government and in the private sector, and that was really helpful, as well as just working on my writing, especially in my second language. I mean, it's not perfect, but I really got to explore that aspect of it, the writing, and think about what I was writing in a second language, and then also being on my own during the ISP period was really fantastic. I didn't have any structure really besides okay, meet with your advisor, and these are the kind of benchmarks that you have to meet, and just structure your time. And so that was really cool to kind of see how I work under those constraints or lack thereof, and just see how it came about. And that really worked well for me, to plan my day with interviews and writing and things.
Excellent. And it sounds like you were able to have access to government officials, and tell us
Yeah,
about that.
I did. Yeah, it was so you're paired with an advisor, and that person is someone that SIT helps you coordinate with, and that's someone that has some expertise or familiarity with your topic. And they have so many resources. It seems like just like a wealth of knowledge. And so my advisor, along with just several other people, the SIT staff, helped me coordinate interviews. And so I ended up being able to interview one of the head prosecutors for sexual crimes and exploitation in Argentina. So I was studying human trafficking. And so I got to meet the lead prosecutor of the country.
Wow.
And so, I mean, and he followed up with me. He was really interested in my paper, which he was probably you're terrible at Spanish, but he was just really interested in the work that I was doing in SIT. So that was really cool to have SIT saying we're a legit program, this is our student, will you talk to her?
That's amazing. Wow, that's so exciting. Cool. And what's one thing you learned on your SIT program that you couldn't have learned elsewhere?
Gosh, there's a lot. I think something that's interesting that I've been reflecting upon recently is that the kind of education that we receive in the U.S. is very from the U.S. perspective, right? And everything we learn is how things apply to the U.S. And so when I was in Argentina and on SIT programs, we had professors from Argentina, but also people from other places. Our program director is from Chile originally, and just understanding and learning about the way that they absorb information, like current events and news and history, the way that that is perceived, especially in the lens of our academic courses, was fascinating. I mean, the information that we had for our course materials came from all over the world. And oftentimes I feel like in the US, my textbooks are written by US professors or from English-speaking professors, and that wasn't always the case. We had really just experts from all over, and that was really neat to see their perspective on the themes or on current events.
Wow, excellent. And as a public health focus, what could you say about the classes and the and the rigor and the teachers about public health?
Yeah. Well, I'd never taken public health classes before because UT didn't start offering public health classes for my course catalog year until this year. So I'd never taken anything, just like kind of learned on outside of in extracurriculars, but I didn't really know what to expect. And what I got was amazing. I can really apply public health knowledge to my political science and my Hispanic studies classes. And our program focused a lot about social determinants. And what does that mean? It means, like how this area, what it means socially, how that affects their access to health. And so it means, if they don't have great water sanitation, they're constantly, let's just say, affected by that, and it makes them go to the hospital because they have giardia or some other kind of, disease that could be affiliated with dirty water sources or whatever. And so I really liked that aspect. We also learned a lot about maternal and infant mortality, which was something I just really didn't know very much about, and that's something that definitely affects all countries, but specifically Argentina. And then we also learned about how you research in public health. And what does that mean? Because there's a social science aspect as well as, a very quantitative aspect depending on the theme. And so we got a little bit of everything and really focused on the issues that hit Argentina, but as well as explored things about the U.S. that I didn't really know before. And so that was it was counterintuitive that I learned more about the U.S. than I did before. But.
Excellent, thanks. And can you tell us about the homestay, your homestay experience?
Yeah, the homestay was fantastic. I knew I wanted to do a homestay. That was part of the reason I chose SIT, because you just get such a great perspective, and you get to do the things that they like to do. My host mom was fantastic. I was her first student, and we spent a lot of time together. We still keep in touch, and she just was so happy to involve me in her life, and I think a lot of my classmates had that as well. They would go to birthday parties, and they would go to cultural events and things like that. Participate in the protests or the community events, and I really appreciated that, as well as so concerned about us all the time. It's hard for U.S. students to go from high school to college and then kind of back to the I'm living at home phase, but I think it's an important thing because I like to tell people you have your whole life to travel, but as a 40-year-old man, you probably won't get invited into someone's house to stay for 5 months. Like us as students, as 19, 20-year-olds, to be able to live in someone's home is so cool, and be cooked for and help around the house and help with the things that they like to do is really neat.
Excellent, thanks. And can you tell us about the excursions that you went on?
Yes, we went on 2 very different excursions. One to an area called Mendoza, which is like the wine country of Argentina, as well as a place called Tucumán, which is a relatively poor area of Argentina. I mean, complete difference. And I really liked that, is that we got to see not only Buenos Aires, the capital of Argentina, but also these 2 very different provinces and cities. And, we got to travel the way that Argentinians travel. We got to travel on these awesome buses and eat the food of the region. And I loved the excursions because they gave us such a different perspective of the different parts of Argentina. Just like the U.S., the cultures and the way of life is very different in different parts of the country. And I think we have a tendency, at least I did, of kind of categorizing a country as the country and oh, well, this is the way that people in Buenos Aires do things is kind of the way everyone does things. And that was totally not the case. People take siestas in Tucumán, whereas in the big city, you probably won't be able to take a nap during the day.
Excellent. Sounds like you had so many different things going on, and it sounds like a wonderful experience. And what was something that you would like to tell students that are thinking about this program? Is there anything you could tell them?
About the public health and urban environments, or SIT?
About this program. Yeah.
This program, I'd say come in with an open mind. I think the most important thing about being in Argentina and Buenos Aires specifically is being flexible, because in such a big city with so many different things going on, if you're just relaxed and you're ready for anything, it makes your experience so much more interesting. Sometimes the public transit just shuts down for the day, And you're like, well, how do I get to school? And that's kind of the beauty of it. And it's really beautiful because you get to think on your feet and have an experience that really we would never experience in the US, or like we would probably freak out. And I think, just kind of be ready for anything and to take everything with not necessarily at face value, because there are really interesting components to it, both socially and politically, uh, the different things that you're faced with. I think that it's an excellent opportunity to study Argentinian health systems, as well as kind of get insight on how a system so different from the U.S. works, as well as learn about the U.S. system, because we spend a lot of time comparing the two just for context purposes. And I think that the staff is just, I mean, the program director and all of the assistant director and all of our people that are working with SIT there are so happy to help and so encouraging, and really help you formulate your project. And you're never on your own entirely. They help you set up things, and then they set you free, and then you come back and you say, okay, this is what I did, and let's go from there.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. And I learned a lot about your experience, and I think this will help students that are thinking about this program.
Yeah, thanks so much, Vanessa. It was great to talk with you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.